Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into a story that's going to make you rethink every piece of mail you've ever opened. Imagine living in a small town where everybody knows each other. And then, out of nowhere, someone starts sending anonymous letters. Letters that know your secrets, call out your neighbors, and turn your whole world upside down. This is the Circleville Letters, a real mystery from Ohio that's been baffling people for decades. It's got drama, tragedy, and a twist that'll leave you with more questions than answers. So grab a drink, get comfortable, and let's unpack this thing. Trust me, you're going to want to stick around to the end because this one gets weird. You know, I first heard about this case a while back, and it stuck with me because it's not some big city scandal. It's this intimate, small town nightmare where the threat feels so personal. Like these letters weren't just random, they were targeted. And they knew things that made people question their own lives. We'll get into all that, but yeah, it's the kind of story that makes you appreciate email a little more. But before we get started, quick shout out to all of you watching. If you're new, hit that subscribe button. It means the world. And if you're back for more, you're my kind of people. It's alright, let's set the stage. So the picture is this. It's the summer of 1976 in Circleville, Ohio. This is a small town, about 13,000 people back then, nestled in Pickaway County, just south of Columbus. It's classic small town America. Think wide streets, family owned shops, porches with rocking chairs, and the annual Circleville Pumpkin Show, where people compete with massive pumpkins, and there's parades, rides, and enough pie to feed an army. It's the kind of place where folks wave at each other on the street. Kids play outside till dark, and the most excitement might be at a high school football game or gossip at the local diner. Everybody knows everybody's business, but in that friendly, neighborly way, not the kind of creepy. At least not yet. That, changes when the letters start arriving. The first one hits in late 1976, postmarked from Columbus, about 30 miles north. Has no signature, no return address, just blocky, handwritten scrawl that looks like someone's trying to disguise their writing. The main target right from the jump is Mary Gillespie, a school bus driver for the local school district. Mary's in her 30s, married to Ron Gillespie, with two kids, a daughter and a son. She's just a regular mom, dedicated to her job, ferrying kids to and from school every day. But the first letter she gets, it accuses her of having an affair with Gordon Massey, the superintendent of school. It's blunt, saying things like, I know what you've been doing with Massey. Stay away from him. I know where you live. I know your kids. That's not exact quotes, but you get the idea. It's threatening, personal, and it claims the writer's been watching her. Mary's shocked. She insists there's no affair, that she's happily married to Ron, who works at a local factory. But the letters keep coming, almost weekly at first, then more frequently. They're not just to her. Ron starts getting them too, urging him to make Mary stop the supposed affair or face consequences. The writer even threatens to expose it all, saying things like, your kids will suffer if this doesn't end. It's the kind of stuff that would make anyone paranoid. And here's a detail that ramps up the creep factor. The letters mention specific details about Mary's routine, times she leaves for work, places she stops on her bus route, even what her kids are up to. Like someone's just not guessing, they're observing. I don't know about you, but if I got a letter like that, I'd be checking my mailbox with a stick. Who's got the time to write creepy notes, disguise their handwriting, and drive to another city to mail them? That's some serious commitment. And in a town like Circleville, where rumors spread fast anyway, this starts stirring things up. People are whispering at the grocery store, wondering what's going on with the Gillespies. Mary and Ron try to brush it off at first. They're like, okay, it's some weirdo, we'll ignore it. These letters are relentless. By early 1977, we're talking hundreds of them over time. But it ramps up quickly. They're sent to neighbors, co-workers at the school district, even the local newspaper, the Circleville Herald. Some letters call out the sheriff, Paul Sharp, accusing him of corruption or covering up scandals. Others spill supposed secrets about other townfolk, affairs, financial troubles, personal grudges. It's like someone's decided to play puppet master with the entire town, using the mail as their weapon. And the tone, well, it's vicious, full of anger, with warnings like, "We know what you're hiding." And it's time everyone knows. The Gillespies only confide in a few people at first. Ron's sister, her husband Paul, and Paul's sister. Paul's a local guy who works at Anheuser-Busch in Columbus, married to Karen Sue Fresher, and they have kids too. He's family, so they trust him with this. But as the letters pile up, the pressure builds. Signs start appearing around town, hand-painted posters on fences and roadsides echoing the letters' accusations, like Gillespie is cheating with Massey. It's public now, and the town's buzzing. Then things take a darker turn. On August 19, 1977, Ron gets a phone call at home. Nobody knows for sure who it was, but his family says he reacted like it was the letter writer, providing some kind of proof or taunt about the affair. Ron's furious. He's been dealing with this for months. His marriage under fire, his family stressed. He tells Mary and the kids he's going to confront the person. He grabs his gun, which obviously he kept for protection, and storms out in his pickup. A few hours later, police find his truck crashed into a tree on a rural road outside town. Tragically, he doesn't make it through the crash. He's 35 years old. Here's where it gets strange, though. The official report from the coroner says it was an accident with alcohol involved. His blood alcohol level was reportedly 0.16, over the legal limit. But his family? They're absolutely certain he wasn't drinking that day. Ron was not a big drinker, and witnesses say he seemed sober when he left. Plus, there's this detail. When they check his truck, there's one bullet missing from his gun, and it had been fired recently. Did he run into someone firing a warning shot? Was he lured out there? No witnesses, no clear evidence. But it's starting to feel like something out of a mystery novel. And the crash site. It's on a straight road. No skid marks. Like maybe he swerved suddenly or was forced off. Okay, I gotta say, I've had some rough days. But getting a call that makes you storm out like that, I'd probably just hide under my blanket with a bag of chips. Ron was out here ready to throw hands, and I respected it. But man, that's intense. His death shakes the family. Mary is left with the widow, 2 kids, and the letters, they don't stop. If anything, they get nastier, taunting Mary about Ron's death, saying things like, "Now he's gone because of you." But this is where the investigation begins. The police get involved more seriously after Ron's death, but they're hitting a brick wall. Sheriff Dwight Radcliffe looks into the letters, but there's no fingerprints, no DNA. This is the 70s, text limited. And the postmarks from Columbus don't lead anywhere. They figure Ron's crash was a tragic accident, maybe stress-related, but the town's freaking out. Everyone whispering, "Who's getting the next letter? What do they know about me?" It's like living in a fishbowl where someone's always watching and trust starts eroding. Neighbors eyeing each other suspiciously at church or the pumpkin show. Mary tries to move on, focusing on her kids and her job. But the harassment continues. Then, in February 1983, almost 6 years after Ron's death, Mary finds something straight out of a movie. She's driving her bus route one morning when she sees a sign on the side of the road with a nasty message about her and her daughter. Something crude and threatening. She pulls over to take it down, and get this, it's rigged with a booby trap. A device set to go off if she messes with the sign. a box with a gun inside, wired to fire. Luckily, the trigger jams or something, and it doesn't go off. She's okay. But can you imagine? You're just trying to drive the kids to school, protect your family's name, and there's a trap waiting for you. That's the kind of thing that'd make me quit my job and move to the woods. The police trace the device. The serial number on the gun leads right to Paul Fresher, Mary's brother-in-law. Paul is still married to Karen at this point, but their marriage is rocky, heading toward divorce. He claims he lost the gun weeks earlier, but the cops aren't buying it. They think, okay, maybe Paul's got some family beef. Maybe he blames Mary for Ron's death or something. They dig deeper and bring in handwriting. They dig deeper, bringing in handwriting experts from the FBI and private analysts. They compare Paul's writing to the letters, and it's a match. Similar block letters, phrasing quirks. On October 24th, 1983, Paul goes on trial for attempted murder related to the trap. They don't charge him directly for the letters, but use them as evidence. He's convicted and sentenced to 7 to 25 years in prison. Case closed, right? Letter writer caught. Town can breathe again. Except, not really. I mean, pinning it on the brother-in-law feels like something you'd see in a TV drama, right? Like, oh, it's always the family. Paul swears he's innocent, says he'd never hurt Mary or Ron. He thought a lot of Ron before all this. But the evidence stacks up, and he's off to Lima Correctional Institution. Hold on, though, because this story is about to take a crazy wild turn. Here's where the things get really weird. And this is why the case is still talked about today. Paul's in prison by late 1983, locked up in solitary for parts of it, with strict rules. No pens, no paper, no way to send mail without it being checked. But the letters? They don't stop. In fact, they keep flooding in. Same creepy handwriting, same Columbus postmark, sometimes other nearby cities. Same vibe, someone who knows way too much. Mary's still getting them, accusing her of stuff, taunting her about the trial. The sheriff gets them, calling out his department for botching the case. Even Paul gets letters in prison, like the writer just mocking him, saying things like, "Now you know what it feels like to be accused." By the early 90s, over 1,000 letters have hit Circleville and beyond. Some TV stations too. Newspapers, even random people outside town are receiving the letters. So let's break this down. If Paul is in jail, who's sending these things? Is he some kind of mastermind with a secret accomplice? Maybe his ex-wife Karen, who some say hated Mary. Or was it never him at all? The town's in chaos. Everybody's pointing fingers. Your neighbor, your coworker, maybe even someone in power like the sheriff himself, since the letters target him too. Circleville's small, but the secrets are stacking up like nobody's business. And get this. After Ron's death, Mary and Gordon Massey did admit to an affair, but they swore it started after the letters began, not before. Does that mean the writer was guessing, or did they know something brewing? I gotta be honest, if I lived in Circleville, I'd be done with mail altogether. Like, sorry, I'm going digital. Send me an email. Whoever's behind this is playing the long game. It is creepy as all get out. Let's talk about what the police found, or more like what they didn't find, to really flesh this out. The letters are a treasure trove of weirdness. They're all handwritten in that blocky style, which is wild for something this big. Most people would have switched it to a typewriter to save their hand from cramping, or to better disguise it. But the writer stuck with pen, maybe to make it personal. Postmarks are usually Columbus, but sometimes Reynoldsburg or other suburbs, so someone's going out of their way to mail them from another city. But why? To cover their tracks? To mess with people's heads? There's no fingerprints, no saliva on stamps. Self-adhesive weren't common yet, but no DNA tech then also. So there's nothing concrete. The booby trap is the only real physical lead, and even that's shaky. The device was a cardboard box with a .25 caliber pistol inside, wired with the string to fire if the sign was pulled. It was clunky, almost amateurish, like it was more about scaring Mary than actually succeeding. Paul's gun matched the serial number, and he admitted owning it, but said it was stolen from his garage. During the trial, they had him write samples, and the experts said it matched 90% or so. But handwriting analysis? It's not foolproof. It's subjective, like saying your A's loop the same way. Paul's defense argued it could have been forged, and some letters had slight variations. There's Ron's crash. No witnesses, no clear evidence of foul play, but that missing bullet and fired gun keep nagging at me. The crash was on 5 Points Pike, a straight road, and the truck hit the tree head-on at high speed. His family pushed for more investigation, but the sheriff closed it as an accident. Back in '77, toxicology tests weren't exactly top tier. They could have been off. Plus, that phone call he got, who was it? Ron's daughter remembered him saying something like, "I know who it is," before leaving. Nobody traced it. Because, 1970s tech wasn't out here solving crimes like on TV. It's like trying to solve a puzzle with half the pieces missing, and some pieces from another box. Paul's conviction? It's mostly based on that handwriting in the gun, but no direct link to Ron's death or the early letters. During the trial, Karen testified against him, saying he hated Mary after Ron died. Blamed her for the affair rumors. They were divorcing by then, so maybe bitterness played in. But Paul maintained his innocence, even writing appeals from prison. I'm not saying he's innocent, but there's a lot of holes in this story. Enough to make you wonder if the real writer was laughing while Paul took the fall. Look, I'm no detective, but if I'm getting creepy letters and mystery calls, I'm not driving off into the night. I'm probably just eating a sandwich and locking my doors. These folks were dealing with something serious. Serious stress. And it only gets weirder from here. Alright, let's get to the fun part. Theories. This case is a total rabbit hole, and I'm here for it. Over the years, people have come up with all sorts of ideas, from armchair detectives on forums to episodes on shows like Unsolved Mysteries, which actually featured this case back in 1994 and brought it to a wider audience. That episode alone got thousands of tips, but nothing panned out. So, let's break it down step by step, starting with the most straightforward ones and getting weirder as we go. Theory 1. Paul Fresher was the guy. Full stop. The police thought so, the handwriting matched according to the experts, and he had that trap tied to him with his own gun. Motive? Maybe family drama bubbling up from the divorce with Karen. By the time of the trial, things were ugly. Karen testified that Paul was obsessed with letters, that he blamed Mary for Ron's death, and the affair rumors tearing the family apart. Paul worked in the Columbus, so he could have easily mailed letters from there. And for the ones sent while he was in prison, some say he had an accomplice, like Karen or a friend smuggling them out. Prison mail gets checked, maybe not perfectly. Notes could have been hidden or passed through visitors. Paul did have supporters who believed he was framed, but the evidence was strong enough for a conviction. Still, he appealed multiple times, even getting handwriting experts of his own who said the match wasn't conclusive. In 1990, he was paroled after 10 years, but he never stopped claiming innocence, right up until his death in 2012 from natural causes. But here's the issue that pokes holes in this. How's he sending letters from solitary? Prison records show he was in isolation for stretches, no visitors sometimes, and the letters kept coming with that same style. Unless he's got some secret network like in a spy movie, but it doesn't fully add up. And get this, after his release, Paul received a letter himself taunting him about the case. If he's the writer, why send one to himself? Throw people off? It's possible, but it feels overly complicated. So now theory 2. Someone else in Circleville entirely. This town's tiny. There's 13,000 people, but it means secrets don't stay buried for long. But someone knew way too much about Mary, Ron, Gordon, Massey, and everybody else. Maybe a coworker at the school with a grudge. Mary was a bus driver, and there were rumors of tension with other staff over routes or something petty. Or a neighbor who's too nosy, eavesdropping on the conversations, or peeking through windows. The letters often reference local gossip, like specific events at the pumpkin show or church meetings, so it had to be an insider. One popular suspect in online discussions is the sheriff himself, Dwight Radcliffe. The letters called him out repeatedly for being shady, accusing him of mishandling cases or even covering up Ron's crash. Some think he wrote them to stir chaos or deflect his own issues. But there's no hard evidence, and Radcliffe denied it till he passed away. Another angle, Gordon Massey, the superintendent. After Ron's death, Mary and Gordon did start a relationship, which ended badly. Mary broke it off, and Gordon allegedly harassed her afterward. Could he have started the letters to force Ron out of the picture? It's a stretch, but the timing is suspicious. Mary even sued the school district later for harassment, though it did not tie back to the letters. And because I can't help myself, let's get a little weird. What if it's not just one person? Picture a couple of locals, maybe a secret club or even family members collaborating. Karen Fresher comes up a lot here. She divorced Paul in 1982, right before the trap incident. And some say she's hated Mary enough to keep the letters going for revenge. Or what if it's one person so obsessed they kept this going for decades? Like they're out there right now, in their 80s maybe, sipping tea, laughing about how they freaked out a whole town. There's even a paranormal angle some folks float. Circleville has an old folklore about it, haunted spots, like nearby Round Town area with ghost stories. But that's probably just people reaching. I'm not saying it's ghost writing letters, but this case has a vibe, you know. It's like something you'd read in a creepy novel, where the bad guy is always one step ahead, pulling strings from the shadows. Okay, I know I sound like I've got a conspiracy board with yarn, and push pins in my garage. But when you've got letters going for 20 years with no answers, you start wondering if the post office is haunted or something. In modern takes, true crime podcast and Reddit threads still dissect this. Some users claim to be from Circleville and say the town still whispers about it, with folks suspecting it was a bored housewife or a disgruntled postal worker. But no new evidence has surfaced, even with DNA tech today. If they tested the stamps or envelopes now, maybe we'd get answers, but most of the letters are long gone. So let's take a moment to talk about the real impact here, because this isn't just a cool mystery or a puzzle to solve. It's about real people who went through absolute hell. Mary Gillespie lost her husband in that crash, and whether it was an accident or tied to the letters, it shattered her world. She was left a widow at 35, raising 2 kids, a daughter who was a teenager and a son who was younger, while dealing with the harassment. Imagine being a mom, driving a bus full of kids every day, knowing someone's out there watching you, writing about your family, spreading lies that could cost you or your job of your French. Mary spoke about it on Unsolved Mysteries, saying the letters made her feel violated, like her privacy was stolen. She tried to move on, remarried eventually. The scars lingered. She passed away in 2013, still without closure. Her kids grew up with this cloud over them, wondering what really happened to their dad. The daughter, who was 13 when Ron died, had talked in interviews about how the family was torn apart, how school was tough with kids repeating the rumors from the letters. Paul Freshour, whether he did it or not, spent 10 years in prison, and his life was ruined too. He lost his job. His marriage ended in divorce, and his kids grew up visiting him behind bars. Paul became a bit of a cause. Groups like the Ohio Innocence Project looked at his case, but nothing overturned it. He died in 2012, still proclaiming innocence, and his family believes he was framed. The entire town was on edge for years. Circleville's pumpkin show, which should have been a fun community thing, turned tense. People avoiding each other, wondering who the writer was. Businesses suffered from the paranoia. The local paper got bombarded with letters, and folks stopped trusting the mail. It created this atmosphere of suspicion that lingered into the 90s. Even today, if you search online, locals say the case divided families and friendships. It's not just a mystery. That's community living in fear, and it's heartbreaking. Think about the ripple effects. Kids hearing whispers, marriages strained by accusations in the letters, people moving away to escape the drama. I think about what it must have been like in Circleville back then. You're just trying to live your life, go to work, grab coffee at the diner, whatever. And you're wondering if your neighbor is the one sending these letters, or if you'll get the next one. That constant dread, it's the stuff of nightmares. And for the families involved, like the Gillespies and the Freshers, it wasn't entertainment. It was their reality. We owe it to them to approach this with respect, not just as a spooky tale. So where does that leave us? The Circleville Letters is one of the strangest, most unsettling mysteries I've ever come across. And even after all these years, it feels unsolved. Was it Paul Freshour? Somehow pulling strings from behind bars despite the evidence gaps? Was it a bitter local with too much time on their hands, like a co-worker or even a sheriff? Or is there some mastermind out there still chuckling about the chaos they caused? We might never know. The last known letters trickled around the early 2000s, but no one's ever been caught for sure. Circleville has grown since then, but the older folks remember, and the case pops up in the books like Weird Ohio or True Crime compilations as this enduring enigma. What makes it so compelling is how small scale it is. No big headlines, just a town terrorized by paper and ink. If there's a lesson here, it's about how words can wound deeper than anything else, turning neighbors into suspects. Modern tech might crack it someday. DNA on old envelopes or AI handwriting analysis, but for now, it's a cold case. I want to hear what you think. Drop your theories in the comments. Who's your suspect? Is it Paul? Karen? Someone totally off the radar? Maybe you've got a wild idea I didn't touch on, like a connection to another unsolved case. Or, if you're from Circleville or nearby, share your stories. Did your family talk about this? I read all those comments, so let's get the conversation going. Who knows? Maybe a viewer has a tip that reignites the investigation. Keep an eye on your mailbox for a bit. You never know what's coming in the mail these days. So thanks for hanging out with me on this one, everybody. If you liked it, hit that like button, subscribe, ring the bell so you don't miss the next deep dive. We've got more weird stories coming your way. Maybe something on another small town mystery, like the lead mask cases or the Phantom Barber. But until then, stay curious, stay safe, and maybe check your mail with a pair of tongs. See you in the next one.